Welcome back to the Course Creation Incubator. I'm Gina Onativia, online course coach and consultant, and I know you've got something great burning inside of you, just waiting to come out. It could be your first course. It could be your fifth online course. It could be an online program just waiting to be promoted in the right way. Whatever it is, I don't want you leaving anything on the table. Which is why I asked my good friend and done-for-you client, Melissa Goodwin, on the show. Because if you have a fire in your belly right now, I want you to let it out. And Melissa is here to make sure you are realizing your full potential. Melissa is an amazing course creator. Her Wild Well-Being course is just about to launch, so she's been in your shoes. Plus, she's launched 2 startups, has an incredible following on YouTube, and she's just so darn inspiring every time I connect with her. I think you'll enjoy our chat. Get ready to be fired up. Welcome, Melissa. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Hi, Gina. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You talk about the feeling of wanting more in your life. And I've talked to plenty of course creators who say, I am ready for more. But they can't articulate what that more is. How can we figure out what that is exactly?
That's such a good question and a really great place to start too. For me, I've been speaking to audiences and specifically women in corporate for well over a decade. And over time, I studied sort of the trends, and the trends really, both the trends in what I would see, but also sort of what would make my heart swell up a little bit. And what I could see and pick up on is this dissonance between these women who have these high level achievements day to day, and yet still felt like something was missing for them. So it could be like, for example, it could be a symptom of work-life balance, or not being able to hold and expand their quote unquote and, as I like to say. I'd have CFOs who'd struggle to connect with their teenage kids, or someone who was an entrepreneur and didn't believe that they could actually fulfill this ability to pay the bills and do what they love at the same time, and on and on and on. So in my work around these corporate audiences, I started creating an activity that helped women see what they were neglecting. And that resulted in me having them commit to this internal and intrinsic yes by the end of the engagement. And it's funny because at this point, it's like you could be rolling your eyes, like it sounds very kumbaya, but over time and over all of these responses from these groups of women, I could feel the heartbeat in the room, and the emotion around it. And it showed me that there's a lot of people who are just leaving something on the table. Like they've set out to do and dream and become, and for the most part on paper in their lives, they've achieved those things, but something is really missing, And so I would ask, like, what are you leaving on the table? And then what permission do you need to access that thing? And that really summarizes this idea of there being more in your life.
Okay, I love this idea of what permission do you have to give yourself, because I feel like so many times we just need someone else, right, to give us permission to move forward on that, to pursue that dream. I was just talking to an interior designer yesterday, and she would be a perfect person for you to work with, Melissa, she said to me, I've been working for 3 decades. I know everything there is to know about interior design. I'm ready for something else. I'm ready for something. I'm like, you're ready for a course. Let's be honest. And what I would take them down the course process, but I want to know what's your process then to manifest that and make that happen. If it's a course that's inside of them, how do they manifest that internally within them? How do they give themselves that permission?
Okay, well, first of all, so good. I think we have to let go of our assumptions about the word manifestation, because a lot of times it takes us down like old religious pathways. It kind of takes us into the law of attraction and The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a professional manifester in the sense that I realized just recently even that over 2 decades, I've been studying how to manifest what I want. And the everyday language of that is just really answering the inner call to build a life that I love. And I think that so I think for the first part of this answer is understanding that intrinsically we are all manifestors.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Is there's the only permission we need to give ourselves is to understand the identity inside of us is a creator. We are a creator. So whatever it is that's coming up or bubbling up, we have the capacity to shift, change, create, make, and bring into existence. And that's a really powerful identity to embrace in a world where it feels like we really could be at the mercy of a lot of different things. So I think first and foremost, how you manifest it is understanding that your inner birthright, the identity of who you are, is a creator and manifester, which is really exciting because once you can believe that, then it's like the world's your oyster. And with that, Gina, for me, I have a framework. So like I said, I've been studying manifestation in my own life for 2 decades. I've gone down the religious route. I've gone down the brain science route. I've gone down the coaching route. I've experimented with a million different things. And inside of that, I've created a formula. And this formula boils down to 4 really specific things that are not hard, but they're very deep in the sense of you really have to have awareness around each of them. Do you want me to go into those, Gina?
I would love for you to go into those. Please enlighten us, Melissa, the 4 things.
Okay, so these 4 things are very simple. Number 1, and this goes into the permissions, the permission conversation we were just having, is really asking yourself, what do you want? So for your client you were just talking about, Gina, she knows what she doesn't want anymore, but the question is, what do you really want? And I always say your desire should inspire you. It should actually bubble up something new and something fresh and something expressly yours. And when you find that desire, most of us, I find, either brush it off or feel like we don't deserve it. And so that's the real power, is understanding that your desire is yours and it's important to name it. The second thing is then going into, who do I have to believe myself to be in order to have it? And this question is really important. It's not who do I have to be to have it, it's who do I have to believe myself to be to actually like articulate the desire inside my life. Yes. And what's so great is this begins to create the tension between where you are today and then holding that vision for what I call your ideal identity. Because the reality is who you have to believe yourself to be could be a much more brave, a much more focused, a much more disciplined, a much more spiritual, perhaps, person. And the reality is today you might not be that thing, but believing in the woman you know you need to be means she's already inside of you. So that tension then creates this ability to say, every day I get to take an action to become more of the expression of that woman who believes that she is the one who's holding and embracing what she really wants. The third area is, what's the lever to get me there? Now, the lever is like the secret sauce that I believe it's like I've found little bread droppings over the last 2 decades in my work as a coach and consultant and business owner. And I've been collecting this bread, and this is like the loaf I think I have to offer here in the work of manifestation and creating a life you love. And that is really about, the lever is really about the energy stream inside of you that, when tapped into, creates an effortless cascade of wins. And that might sound a little high level, but here's what I mean by that. Your lever can be as simple as a daily workout. It could be a hug that you give your child every day. It's a myriad of things, and it's your own personal formula. And I feel as though when people really find their lever, it's like a domino effect in their lives. They pull this lever, which is really just a core value in their lives.
Yep.
And when they accept the yes of that lever every day in their lives, everything changes. So one really good example I just want to share with you real quickly is this idea of physical health.
Okay.
So, over the course of my work, I have seen hundreds and hundreds of people transform their lives through health and fitness, but not specifically setting out to transform their lives in health and fitness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we've had I worked with people who are massively successful already in their careers and their families, and other places, and have set out to have some incredible goals in, sailing around the world or buying an island and all of that. And they can beat their head against the wall over and over and over in trying to, make that happen. But when we shift their energy to where they get their most, what would I say, where they get their most energy every day, or what they love the most, what they value the most, what they want to feel like every day, something begins to happen. So one great example is a gal I worked with. She was rocking it in her career, but was ready to achieve the next thing. And she tried and implemented a lot of strategies, but felt really stuck in her health and fitness. And so, one of the things we did was really identify, well, what is one way that you can take the wins you had in your career and use them or implement them in your health and fitness. And one of the big things was her discipline. Like, she was super organized and super disciplined in her career, and she just was really nailing it there.
Okay, so Melissa, let me pause for a second here on number 3, because I love this concept of the lever. I've got a lot of course creators who get stuck, right? Or lose momentum with their course creation for whatever reason. How can they use this concept of a lever to help them?
Mm. Well, I love this. The first way is to really understand the mechanics of a lever. So if you look at what a real lever is, you have sort of like the plank of it resting upon a fulcrum, which is kind of the placement of the base of a lever. And they say, like, if your lever is placed in the right place, it can lift things as big as a smart car with very little effort. They say the pyramids were built by using levers, allegedly. So when I look at this in your own life, looking at where your real wins is like your number one treasure right there. It's where are
Yeah.
you really feeling good and satisfied and creating what you want to create in your life? Where do you feel most you, most like the energy just flows naturally? A lot of people would answer a lot of different places. It could be in connection of relationships. It could be in the daily discipline of how they eat and sleep and take care of their bodies. It could be in, their creativity levels. But wherever your greatest win is in life, in any category of life, and I think about this in a very simple way, like a 6-part category of life. We have health, your soul, or life purpose, relationships, career, money, and home. Where, if you just took a moment and thought, where am I really feeling like I'm in 7, 8, 9, or 10? Like, I'm doing really well. And then asking yourself why. Like, what is the everyday value inside of that that makes this area so successful for me? If we identify what that is and then plug it into the place where you're most stuck, especially in course creation, for most people, the answer surfaces.
Yes, I love that. And I love what you're saying. Commitment, discipline, creativity, like whatever that value is for you, whatever's bubbling up to the surface, apply that to your course creation. I love that. Okay, and give me number 4 though. I want number 4 a part of your 4-part process, please.
Oh, right. Number 4 is probably, I think, the most simple and the most hard all in one. And that is really the daily discipline. It is
Mm.
doing the do. And I tell people, find one action. What is the one thing you will do today to get inside of that lever and go for what you want? Like, it's very clear. And for you to just write down that one thing and commit to it. If I tell you to write down 5 things, you probably won't do it. If I tell you to just do one thing a day, magic begins to happen.
Great. Okay, that's amazing. Love all these 4. We'll make sure to list them in the show notes so we have a review. And what you're talking about, I talked to you in the intro about your wild well-being course, which is I've created a lot of courses over the years, and this Wild Wellbeing course is one of my favorites, easy, because of the content inside of it is amazing. And inside of Wild Wellbeing, you talked about having energy versus envy buttons. And this is so prevalent for us as course creators because we feel a lot of envy. We see we see other course creators' sites, or we see their sales pages, and we're like, oh man, how do I have some of that, right? But tell me more about these buttons and how we can kind of be dealing with them in a better way.
Oh, yes. Okay. So yes, it's two different buttons that live inside of you. And I always laugh because I'm not sure if you in the audience will hear this, but this is the one I get most often. It's your walk through Target on Saturday morning.
Oh
And you
yeah.
stop at that book section and you see that multi-passionate, less than 40 something chick who appeared out of nowhere as an overnight New York Times best-selling author, right? She's got
Mm-hmm.
her best-selling book, she's got her journals, and she probably has a shoe line too. And
Oh
you're
sure.
wondering how in the world is she there and I'm here right now?
Yeah.
Or maybe you're chatting with a friend and they got a big promotion, or they got a book deal, or they're starting their course, or maybe even she met her soulmate. Whatever it is, the envy button is when in any of those situations you experience the feeling of your stomach turning in these moments,
Yeah.
and you begin to hear the self-talk start up, and something in you clearly got triggered. It's tough to get out of, and that just means congratulations, you hit your energy button, or I'm sorry, your envy
Envy button.
button.
Yep.
Congratulations, you hit your envy button. Now, before we talk about the envy button, your energy button on the other side is almost like the direct opposite of the energy, but it's that same powered up, jolted feeling. And it's this sort of feeling of hitting the lifeline, of falling into alignment of who you truly are. I always ask people where they feel most creative and fulfilled, where they lose time.
Hmm.
However and wherever those moments are for you, this is your energy button that is being pushed.
Okay.
I think it's important to say both buttons are really important. Um, both buttons are important because, for me, I have this mission to really help people identify where they're leaving things on the table and grab hold of them. But I think both of those opportunities, someone just said the other day, I heard them say, like, creating a business or a course is really just an exercise in really good self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's
great.
true, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
completely.
really good exercise in self-awareness. And what's so great about the energy button or the envy button, it's just self-awareness. It's self-awareness to say, if I am feeling triggered and I am feeling deep envy for whatever the wins are that I'm experiencing this XYZ person have around any level of success that they're having, it just means that it's that dream burning inside of me asking to come out.
Ooh,
And
I like that.
and that's so big. I know, it just gives me goosebumps because that is what it means to have more inside of you. That is what it means to dig for your yes.
Okay. What is that? Okay, there's so much good stuff popping here. If you're feeling that envy button, that means there's something inside of you. Listen to Melissa right now. And now you've told us to dig for our yes. What does that mean, Melissa? How do I dig for my yes?
Well, let's talk about Levi Strauss.
Okay.
So Levi Strauss, way back in the 1800s, he set out to treasure hunt for gold. He was
Okay.
part of the national gold rush that was happening. And listen, I'm not a historian, but I know enough about the gold rush to know that that was a dangerous, treacherous trek that a
Yeah.
lot of people set out to take. And what's so interesting about Levi is, he had a great family business out in the East Coast. He was doing his thing, textile business. They were making money, but he wanted to go treasure hunting for that gold. So
Right.
he set out. On his way out west, he met a man who was solving a problem the best he could and helping all of the people out on their way for gold stay warm. And this man that he met was basically trying to pull together a pair of designed pants to keep people warm. He was using like a canvas or needing like a canvas material to give these people the clothing that they needed to do the job they needed to do as they were traveling out west.
Okay.
And Levi had everything he needed to partner with this guy and to create like the world's best pants for the problem at hand that people were having. And they did. And I mean, the story unfolds. We all know we've got like our pair of 501s hanging in our closet.
Oh yeah.
Levi became a worldwide sensation in the next 100 years because he found his yes in the midst of the adventure. He didn't find it out there. He found it inside of himself, inside of everything that he already had, and in the connections that he made. And I love this as an analogy because your yes isn't out there. It is right here, deep down. I think in life we're taught to climb ladders, to do more, to have more, to buy more Bitcoin. But very seldom do we hear a teacher in traditional school teach our kids how to dig down deeper for the skills, the strengths, the passions, the vision that is already born inside of us. And so while the gold rush was this phenomenon in US history, it killed a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are dying today as a metaphor in their own lives because they've set out on this dangerous, crazy adventure of life to become a corporate attorney, no offense to corporate attorneys, or a CFO or CEO, or even run their own family business. And most of the time, it's not tapping into the treasure that is alive inside of us. So that creative energy.
So true. I talk to course creators all the time who are, maybe not corporate attorneys, but they're teachers, or they have some other 9-to-5 job, and their passion is canning vegetables, right? Or teaching others how to run an urban farm, right? And it's this side passion that is really burning inside of them to come out and become something more. And a lot of times, Melissa, I hear fear around that. What do you say to people who say, well, I don't know if I can make it. I'm making the money right now in my 9-to-5. If I build a course, what's the guarantee that burning inside of me is going to make me money and is going to come to fruition?
Such a good question. And I think it's very normal to have fear. I think on your way to any big adventure, there's a gulp, and that gulp needs to have some fear inside of it. But I think there's a couple of logical questions that we have to ask ourselves. And the first is this: if you are born a creator, like we all are creators of our own lives, and whether we put it out there to sell or not, it's just a truth. We're creators. One of the best things, or one of the best examples for me, is when I started my YouTube channel. I was growing an international leadership development company with a business partner. Her and I were just flying high, doing great. We were in this work. And inside of me, day and night, on the weekends, I just knew that there was more I needed to put out in the world, but I didn't know how to do it. And I thought it was crazy. And I blurted to my husband one day on a walk in Louisville, Kentucky. I said, babe, I think I need to start a YouTube channel empowering women through fashion. And he was like, what? Fashion? Like, where's this coming from? Now, he knew like my passion, like canning fruit, is, finding a designer blazer and sharing it with the world. Like I live for that. That lights me up. That is an energy stream if I've ever met one. Like style is really important to me because I believe it's one of my levers. So in bringing this up, him and I really chatted through things, and I had so much fear. I was like, what are people going to think? How is this going to impact my business? Like, what's going to happen? And the real lesson here is begin to negotiate with your assumptions. Really question, like, what's the story? What is the story that is associated inside of my fear around this? And what if I just believed the opposite of it? Like if the story is everyone's going to judge me, what if the truth actually is no one's going to judge me? No one's going to judge me at all. In fact, people are going to be inspired by it. Well, my goodness, now I have an opening outside of the fear to walk forward into the next step. So I would say feel the fear, believe you're a creator, so you can definitely do it, and then negotiate with the assumptions that are holding you back. The other quick thing, Gina, on this is I believe if you really, really have a course inside of you, it will do one of two things. Number one, it will birth out of you. One way or another, it will come.
Okay.
Or number two, it will die inside of you. And both of those options will be an adventure, but one is going to be a lot more painful than the other. And if you die with the yes still inside of you, never ever giving it a chance to breathe, you will not live life to the fullest. You just really won't. And I'll stand on a stage and say that it is scary and hard to go say yes to something that feels really frightening. But if you know it's inside of you, you have to find a way for it to birth. Even if it's sidewalk chalk art for a summer before you can actually call Gina and develop this course. you just have to find a way for it to birth.
I love that. Going back to it's our inner birthright to be creators and manifestors, right? I love that. I love that. Okay, I think this is a wonderful way to end, Melissa, and we've been talking about wild well-being. I know it's launching soon. How can listeners learn more about the course and about your work?
Yeah, thanks, Gina. Well, there's two places. So first of all, my website, we'll list it below, melissagoodwin.com. I have a really neat little quiz on there talking about what kind of manifestor you are. So you could take the quiz. It'll lead you into a multi-part video series where I give you some more nuggets on really starting to fine tune some of these things that I mentioned and talked about today. You can also find me on YouTube. I'm still there. So come say hi there in the comments and subscribe and sort of enjoy the community that's building over there.
Yeah, we'll list that all in the show notes. You have to check out Melissa's YouTube channel. It is wonderful. I love watching it each and every week. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on, Melissa. This was so fun, and we'll have you back for sure.
Oh, thanks, Gina. This was really fun. I'm just so excited for the adventure that everyone has here listening to either launch their course, build their course. It's such a wonderful journey.
What did you think? Do you feel like you can shift, change, and bring your course or whatever that passion is burning inside of you into existence? Have you thought about how you're going to use your lever? I think there's so much great stuff in there. That conversation with Melissa, I feel like I could do anything after talking with her. Please make sure to check out melissagoodwin.com and her YouTube channel, and drop me a line on Instagram at Course Creation Boutique. Tell me how you're going to be a creator, how you're going to be a manifestor. I'll see you next week where I'll talk about how to get your course done that much faster. Please rate and review this episode, especially if you're listening on iTunes, and then subscribe. I would love to get the word out about this podcast so you and I can help build up our course creator community. Until then, go create, be you and be brilliant, and get it done.